Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video, we're comparing the all-new Honda Pilot to the all-new CX-90 to see which is the best three-row crossover. Before we get in this video though, a huge shout out and thank you to the Stockton 12 Honda for giving me some time with the Pilot, and to the Southtown Mazda for giving me some time with the CX-90. I'm going to include a link to their inventory in the description down below, or both of their inventories rather, in the description down below, so you can check out what they have currently. On a side note, if you want to save time and money the next time you purchase a car, link to my car buying guide in the description down below. Let's get into it. Under the hood of the CX-90, we have a turbocharged 3.3 liter inline 6 that goes through an 8-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 24 around town, and then 28 on the highway, with power outputs being 280 horsepower and then 332 pound-feet of torque. So under the hood of the Pilot, we have a naturally aspirated 3.5 liter V6 that goes through a 10-speed automatic transmission. Fuel economy is 18 around town and then 23 on the highway, with power outputs being 285 horsepower and then 262 pound-feet of torque. Now, before we go over the front ends, I do want to mention, if you want to see more videos just like this, then I recommend you subscribe because I post content every single day. So starting with the CX-90, they've definitely gone for more of a luxury car appearance with this vehicle. You can see the hood is massive. And by the way, seriously, the hood on the CX-90 is massive. And then look at like the headlight design, the chrome here on the front grille and how everything's all blacked out. Whereas with the new Pilot, they've gone for like more of a sporty off-roader design. Even with the Elite package, this is obviously a trail sport. I understand this isn't a perfect comparison, but finding a Honda Pilot in today's world is really difficult. But regardless, even with like the Elite package, it still has more of like a boxy kind of like off-roader type appearance. Let me know which front end you like more. Now, coming around the side here with the Pilot, our tire wheel setup is 265, 60, 18 in the front and over in the rear as well. You guys can see again more of like an off-roader type setup, and that's really clear with like the size of the fender flares and the trim here on the side. And then also the door handles, the mirror caps are all blacked out. But I will say, I do think this looks really cool from the side view. Now with the Mazda, our tire wheel setup is 275, 45, 21 in the front and over in the rear. So more of like a luxury car setup. But notice we have unpainted fender flares just like on the Honda. And then you guys can see with the trim along the side. And then here's your full side view. And so yeah, kind of like more, again, more rounded off, more of that luxury car appearance. Now here are the keys with both of the vehicles, and functionality on them is pretty similar. The Honda does have remote start, whereas on the Mazda key fob, it doesn't look like there's a remote start function. Now popping into the rear of the Pilot, you guys can see the storage space behind the third row, and notice you got these little straps to throw the third row down, and so, you know, pretty simplistic overall. And then when you're done, just press this button and that will lower the hatch right back down. Now the CX-90 has a similar amount of storage with the third row, same thing with the strap situation, but we do have some charging outlets here in the back, which is a nice plus. And then same thing with the hatch, just press that and it'll lower it down. Now when it comes to styling, again, this has more of like an upright off-roader type appearance, and especially look at like the taillight design. Pretty aggressive that way. And then with the Mazda, notice how everything's a little bit more flowy, a little bit more rounded off. Again, it's kind of going more for the luxury car appearance. Now in the back of the Pilot, legroom's really good. Got a little storage pocket here as well. And then you guys can see with the door panel setup, a little bit more utilitarian in this Pilot Trail Sport version, because again, off-roader life. And then you guys can see with our climate zone here in the back, and we've got some charging ports. And then headroom back here is actually really good. Now legroom here in the third row with the Pilot's pretty standard for this segment. And then you guys can see I got some cup holder action, got some vent action, little USB, and then headroom back here is actually really good. Now legroom here in the back of the CX-90, or at least in the second row, pretty similar to what you have in the Honda. You guys can see the storage pocket. Notice the door panel difference, like again, going more towards the luxury theme. Still the sunshade though. So a lot of the features are the same. And then we actually have heated seats here in the second row. Got our own climate zone though as well. And then you guys can see here with the headroom. And I forgot to show the seats in the Honda. I'll go back and show those in a moment, but you guys can see here with the seat design in the Mazda. Again, they're going towards the luxury market. And now when it comes to third row space, pretty similar. The Honda might have had a little bit more foot room, is the best way to put it. Still got a USB back here, and still got good headroom. The Honda is a little bit more like boxy, so I think it actually has a little bit more headroom, but it's not a huge difference. Here's a quick look at the seats in the Honda there on the second row, if you guys are wondering. Anyways, ooh, starting her up. So really cool looking steering wheel here with the Honda. Again, notice with like the orange stitching going towards the off-road theme. Got paddle shifters here in the back though for the 10-speed automatic. Adaptive cruise control with this. Got your heat steering wheel button on the steering wheel itself. And then you guys can see we've got our little turn signal light stock windshield wiper stock there on the other side. And then notice here with the door panel down below, and look at the trim here, and then there's some padding up above. Anyways, here on the gauge cluster, you guys can see we've got the whole screen set up here, which lets you scroll through. Well, if I actually press this, lets me scroll through some different menus, or it's supposed to. There we go. So I can see different stuff on the vehicle, right? For like fuel range, for example. And then popping into reverse, we do have a 360 camera system with this as well. Resolution on it's pretty solid. And then as for the infotainment screen itself, response time's good with the screen. It is a touchscreen, if you guys are wondering. I do like the finish on the control there. And then you can see our climate controls just down below, which actually just turned that off. But we do have the dual zone here for the front. We have heated seats for the front with this package as well. And this is like a little storage cubby, which is interesting. But this is our charging area, is what we'll call it. And we have a bunch of buttons here for the gear selector setup. And then our drive mode selects down below. You guys can see we've got tons of different drive modes for both on-road and off-road use. Again, this is a trail sport, so you're going to have more drive modes than normal. And then we've got hill descent control with this, auto stop start, you got your parking brake. And then the center console on this is huge. Wow, that's enormous. Nice padding though on the top. And you can see the trim here on the dash as well. It definitely has a nice appearance to it. And then you got a little mirror, that's cool. But anyways, panoramic sunroof here at the top. And, ooh, fancy animation here with the Mazda. Anyways, you guys can see that luxury theme continues here with the Mazda, just like the adaptive cruise control here. And then again, look at the design on the door panel as well. And then look at all the controls here. We got like memory seats and everything. Anyways, full digital gauge cluster here in the Mazda. And then we do have a bunch of, well, not a bunch, a few different drive modes with this one. Not as many as the Honda though, but it does have cool animations for the drive modes. And then this does have a 360 camera system, just like the Pilot, right? So that's pretty much the same. Now, unlike the Pilot, it has an infotainment system that's not a touchscreen. So it's all controlled via a dial. So if you've been in a modern Mazda, you're familiar with this screen. And then you can see here with the trim on the dash. Again, they're trying to go for that like luxury theme. And then down below, you guys can see we've got our analog controls for the climate system, heated, cooled seats. You've got a heated steering wheel as well. And then a little charging area. And then this is the shifter. It's definitely interesting, but once you get used to it, you get used to it. It's actually has hill descent control, so it's got some off-road stuff. I wonder if they'll do a Meridian edition with this. And then you guys can see the cup holder action. And then the control for the infotainment system. And then this is weird. So the center console is definitely not as big as the Pilot's. It opens up both ways though, which is unique. And then you can see the glove box. And then up top, we do have a full panoramic sunroof. Now, when it comes to pricing, this Pilot has equipped stickers for just under $52,000, and then this Mazda is about $55,000, so they're relatively close when it comes to pricing. Let's talk about visibility before we set off. Here's visibility of the hood, and hopefully you can see the heads-up display. Both mirrors, you do have blind spot monitoring. Go through the rear, and well, let's set off. Now, I do need to mention I am going to be using this particular driving video for my CX-90 versus Pilot, and then CX-90 versus Telluride video. So I'm just putting that out there. So if you watch one of the other videos and watch this, just skip past this driving portion, skip to the Telluride, or skip to the Pilot, depending on which video you're watching, because those driving impressions will be unique in those videos. Hopefully that makes sense. Anyways, talking about how the CX-90 performs. First off, ride quality. It's really good in the new CX-90. Another thing is this inline six is just super torquey. I think this is going to push other automakers to release a more, when I'd say it's like a more premium powertrain with their vehicles. I mean, you know, Toyota's gone for a turbocharged powertrain now with their new Highlander, but I mean, it's actually got similar power figures to this, but you know, I'd much rather have an inline six than a inline four-cylinder, just because of how much stress the four-cylinder is going to be under compared to this. This is going to be under a lot less stress, and I think that's why Mazda's been creeping up on reliability ratings and might surpass Toyota in the future. But yeah, just look at this, barely in it. And we're at 4,500 feet elevation here, so like, yeah, turbos are king up here, and this definitely shows that. We've got the CX-90 in the sport mode here, so we'll be able to get a proper acceleration is what we will call it. It's such a good engine. It just has like so much torque, and yeah, the performance is just, it's so astounding, honestly. Like down here, we'll kind of show you guys. And it still handles like a Mazda. It's definitely heavier. Like, again, it's not like insanely fast, but when you compare it to other vehicles in the segment, it's so much better. Just the overall power band and the feel, everything here with the CX-90. So setting things up with the CX-90 Drive, the powertrain is definitely like the high point of this vehicle. It also has a very nice looking interior, and you can tell with the exterior styling, again, they're kind of going for more of a luxury car appearance with it. And so yeah, I mean, this really does, it's got luxury car, I would say, like the driving feel, the ride comfort, the interior feel, and then the engine performance. Again, this is the base version of this inline six too. So yeah, super impressed with the CX-90. So setting off on the Pilot, I do need to mention I'm using this Pilot video for my Telluride comparison, and then also for my CX-90 comparison. So at the end of this driving, well, I'll cut it off in the Telluride video, but I will have some like final impressions versus the CX-90 in that video. But anyways, just heads up. So if you're watching the Telluride review, which I'll probably post second, like Telluride comparison, then just probably skip past this driving portion straight to the Telluride driving portion, because that's its own unique clip. But anyways, with the Pilots, first off, seat comfort is pretty dang solid in the Pilot. I do think they've done a good job with the padding and everything in here, so that feels great. Well, officially getting up onto the road with the Pilot. Good torque out of the powertrain. Ride quality is really good. I love the chassis tuning on this new Pilot. I think they've done a really good job. Like, it's super smooth. And I mean, this Trail Sport package does help by having extra sidewall on the tires. But yeah, just the suspension and the platform, it drives really well. It does have like a pretty like substantial feel though. Like, it has this wider feel, and again, it looks pretty wide too, so I think that kind of lends to that wider feel, that is for sure. But let's see how the compression is over this. Yeah, pretty good, pretty solid. It does have it does feel kind of large though, I will say that. Not in a bad way, but like, just like I said, it feels like a substantial vehicle. Good torque out of the powertrain. I think that is pretty dang impressive. Well, we're gonna get our acceleration here with the Pilot. Yeah, it moves. It definitely moves, that's for sure. Let's pop it back into the normal setting, so it pulls back with everything. It's not nearly as aggressive, but I mean, that V6 has enough power for the segment, right? It's right where it needs to be. Man, that Titan is driving so slow. Probably because it's got a Cummins in it and they only can go 2 miles per hour. But anyways, setting things up with the Pilot driving experience. Really good platform. The engine, it's competitive. It's not like, it doesn't stand out, but it is competitive within the segment. Seat comfort's good. The overall driving feel, I think this drives really well. I think that Honda's done a really good job with the overall tuning on it. So with that being said, if you're watching the Telluride comparison, let's go over the Telluride. If you're watching the CX-90 comparison, well, things are about to get juicy. So here's the deal. This powertrain is not nearly as good as that new CX-90 powertrain. That new turbocharged inline six is, yeah, just so much torqueier. I do prefer the like suspension setup on this, because I usually typically like a little bit more cushion. With that being said, the CX-90 handles better, and so because this is more like off-road oriented, it's a little bit squishier, which some of you might like and some of you might not like, because some of you might want like just more aggressive handling dynamics. So with that being said, CX-90 more luxury based interior, this more utilitarian interior, so you might like one or the other. I prefer utilitarian personally because I just like easier to clean stuff, but that's just me. And then yeah, driving dynamics, yeah, it's just different. Like I said, this is more off-road, and it makes sense, right? Trail sport. But let me know which one you'd like more. Yeah, it's kind of like, I would say that Yeah, the best way for me to describe it is the CX-90 wins in the powertrain department, and this kind of wins in the, say, the platform department might be the best way to put it. But yeah, let me know which one you choose.